Welcome back. We're doing something a little bit different today.
A little unusual for us, yeah.
Right. Normally, you tune in and we're dissecting, the latest neural network architecture, maybe some new health tech.
But cutting edge.
Exactly. We're usually right there. But today, we're looking at a piece of, technology that's over a century old.
Though, if you believe the authors, the core operating system is thousands of years old.
It is tech in the truest sense of the word, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the Greek word techne just means craft or art. But instead of silicon chips or, lines of code, the hardware we're talking about is the human brain.
And the software is a very specific way of viewing reality.
That's it.
We are talking about a book called The Kybalion, published back in 1908.
By three authors who were completely anonymous. They just call themselves the Three Initiates.
And I have to be honest, when I first picked this up to prep, I was skeptical. I mean, really skeptical.
You can see why it has a certain aesthetic.
It does. It has all the things we usually avoid. Vague mysticism, occult language, all these capital letter words like the all.
The father, mother, mind.
Yes. It looks, just on the surface, like some dusty relic.
Very Victorian in its whole presentation.
Right. But, and this is the big but, once you kind of strip away all that styling, that dramatic flair, what you find underneath is, a surprisingly rigorous system for cognitive management.
Yes.
It feels less about magic spells and much more about psychology.
That is exactly right. And I think we need to be crystal clear about the mission here, right up front.
Okay.
We are not here to preach a religion. We're not trying to induct anyone into a secret society or, ask you to believe in literal magic.
No.
We are treating this text strictly as a manual for what we're calling mental architecture.
Mental architect. I love that term. It just sounds so much more grounded than, esoteric wisdom.
Well, it fits.
Yeah.
Because the central premise of the book is that your mind has a structure.
It's not just a cloud of thoughts.
Not at all. It's not just a vapor or a stream of consciousness. It has load-bearing walls, it has windows, a foundation, a roof.
And the scary part is that most of us are living in a house we didn't build.
That's the thing. We're living in a mental structure that was built by our parents, our culture, the news cycle.
Our own unexamined habits.
All of it. You're basically living in a rental.
You're squatting in your own mind.
Exactly. And the Kybalion is, in effect, a set of blueprints to help you renovate that house while you're still living inside it.
Okay, so it's about taking ownership of the walls and the window.
Of the entire thing.
Yeah.
And the promise the book makes, the hook, it's pretty bold.
It is. It's just that most of us are just pawns on a chessboard.
We think we're moving, but we're actually being moved.
Pushed around by our environment, by our heredity, by the moods of the people around us.
We are the effect, not the cause.
And the goal of this master key, as they call it, is to turn that pawn into a player.
To stop being the effect and start being the cause.
Which, sounds great on a bumper sticker.
But doing it is incredibly difficult, and that's why we're here. We've gone through the source text, cross-referenced it with some modern psychology, and we're going to try and extract the practical framework.
The actual tools hidden in all this dense philosophy.
That's the plan.
We're going to see if we can hand over the keys to the front door of your own mind. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
Shall we open the book then?
Let's do it. The first thing that struck me is how it defines itself. We're calling this a framework. Why that word?
That's a great question.
Why not a religion? Or, a magic system?
Because of how it functions. I mean, a religion usually demands faith in a deity in a set of dogmas.
Right.
And a magic system usually promises specific results if you say the right words or, burn the right candles.
This isn't that.
No. The Kybalion presents itself as a cognitive structure. It is built on 7 principles. We'll get to those later. But today, we have to look at the bedrock, the foundation.
And that foundation is the concept of mentalism.
Right. The text gives us this core axiom. The all is mind, the universe is mental.
Okay, let's just pause there, because that is the hurdle.
The
universe is mental. I mean, that sounds a bit like the Matrix.
It does.
Or it sounds like solipsism, the idea that nothing is real except my own imagination. Am I just imagining you right now? Is that what they're saying?
Not exactly, and this is a really crucial nuance. When they say the universe is mental, they aren't saying that physical matter doesn't exist.
Or that the table isn't real.
Exactly. Or that it's a hallucination. They're arguing that the fundamental substance of the universe, the code behind the physics, is consciousness.
Okay, can you give me an analogy?
Sure. Think of it this way. We used to believe the universe was made of these hard little billiard balls called atoms. Then we looked closer and found, just energy.
Right.
The Kybalion argues that if you look even closer than energy, what you find is information. You find mind.
So, practically speaking, for the person driving to work right now, why should they care? Why does it matter if the universe is made of mind or billiard balls?
Yeah.
What changes?
It changes everything. Because of what the research calls the architecture of intentionality.
Okay.
Just like a building needs a blueprint, your mind needs a structure to interpret what's happening to it. If the universe is fundamentally mental, it means your thoughts are not just passive observations.
They're not just a commentary track.
No. They are interactions with the very fabric of reality. If you believe the world is purely physical and random, you're a victim of circumstance.
You're just a machine reacting to inputs.
Exactly. But if the universe is mental, then your internal state, your thoughts, your focus, your beliefs, they're actually the blueprint that reality organizes itself around for you.
Wow. So if I don't have a framework, I'm just a leaf blowing in the wind.
That's it.
I'm subject to external influence because I don't have any internal walls to keep the wind out.
Precisely. Without a framework, you're vulnerable to what modern life calls scattered effort. You're just reacting to email. You're reacting to the news. You're reacting to your neighbor's bad mood.
Because you have no internal structure to filter that incoming data. You're just a receiver.
And the Hermetic framework says, no, you are a creator. If the universe is mental, then your thoughts are the building blocks. You're not just observing reality, you are constantly shaping your interaction with it.
So back to the commute example. The person without this framework is sitting in traffic thinking, this is awful, I'm trapped, I'm angry.
And because they think that, their reality becomes a prison. They are letting the external world dictate their internal world. They're the pawn.
But the person with the framework,
They look at the same traffic, but they see it differently. Their mental architecture is different. They might see it as a necessary pause, a time to listen to something useful, or just a neutral event. They're the player.
this brings us to a really interesting choice the book makes. It spends the first few chapters just on philosophy.
It does. A lot of preamble.
Yeah, it doesn't give you any how-to stuff until much later. But there's a reason for that, right? For
Yeah.
giving you the map before methods.
A vital reason. Imagine I give you a Ferrari. High performance, incredible power.
Okay.
That car represents the methods or the powers of mental influence.
Yeah.
But now imagine I give you that Ferrari in the middle of a dense forest at night and you have no map and no headlights. What happens?
I crash immediately, or I
Yeah.
just sit there terrified.
The master key is useless if you don't know where the doors are.
Framework is a map, not a vehicle.
The framework is the map. It stops the student from getting lost in superstition or misusing the energy. If you try to use these mental tools without understanding the terrain, the mental nature of the universe, you end up just hurting yourself or spinning your wheels.
So the philosophy ensures that when you do start to move, you're moving in the right direction.
It's about orientation. The most effective people in any field, they don't just have skills, they have a mental model of how their field works. A chess grandmaster doesn't just memorize moves, they have a framework of the entire board,
The Kybalion is trying to make you a grandmaster of life.
not just someone who knows a few party tricks.
That makes a lot of sense. But then it hits us with this very famous kind of cryptic line. It says, the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the most quoted lines in the whole tradition.
Lips of wisdom closed to non-understanding ears. Now, I have to play devil's advocate. That sounds a little elitist.
It can. Yeah.
It sounds like a secret club. You can't sit with us unless you're cool enough.
Yeah.
What does this mean, practically? Is it about being special?
It's so easy to read it that way, especially with all the language of initiates and masters. But if you look at the material closely, it's pretty clear that readiness is not about status.
It's not about who you are?
No, it's about your internal posture. It's about how you are listening. Our research breaks this readiness down into 3 specific things: attention, humility, and practice. It's really just the physics of learning.
Okay, let's break those down. Let's start with humility. Why is humility a gateway?
There's this beautiful image from Taoism that's mentioned in the notes, the idea of the empty vessel.
Right, you can't fill a cup that's already full.
You can't. If you approach this material, or any subject really, with the attitude of, I already know this, or this is just silly, or I'm smarter than this, your cup is full.
You've blocked the flow.
Completely. The ears of understanding are basically just ears that aren't full of their own noise.
So the mocker, as the text calls them, can't learn because their ears are blocked by the sound of their own pride.
That's it. Humility, in this context, is the simple ability to suspend your current certainty.
Humility is the gateway to learning.
It's just saying, okay, maybe I don't have the whole picture. That creates a vacuum, a space where new information can actually enter. Without that space, the lips of wisdom could be shouting at you, and you literally wouldn't hear them.
It's a cognitive block, not a secret handshake.
Exactly. It connects to confirmation bias. We only hear what confirms what we already believe. If you aren't humble enough to admit you might be wrong, you are deaf to anything new.
Which brings us to the second element, attention.
Right. The Stoics had a word for this, prososh. It means vigilant attention. It's the polar opposite of living on autopilot.
And autopilot is where most of us live. You know, you drive to work and don't even remember the drive.
You eat your lunch while scrolling on your phone. In that state, the ears are closed. You're physically hearing things, but you're not receiving them.
So how do you open them?
It links to metacognition, thinking about your thinking. To hear the wisdom, you have to be able to pause that autopilot. You have to actively turn your attention to the signal.
It's an act of will.
It's an active, energetic act of focusing the mind. The wisdom isn't hiding from you.
We're just distracted.
The signal is broadcasting constantly, the radio is playing. But if your dial is tuned to the static of your own anxiety or your ego, you just miss the music.
So the Hermetic framework is teaching you how to tune the radio.
Attention is the currency of wisdom.
I like that. So readiness is about clearing the static, that's humility, and then tuning the dial, that's attention. But let's talk about safety, because when you start handing people master keys to their own minds, things can get messy. There's a risk of treating these principles like magic wands.
This is a critical point. We have to be really clear about how to read this book safely. The principles we're going to discuss, mentalism, vibration, polarity, they are lenses.
Lenses for seeing reality clearly.
Yes, they are not spells to defy reality.
Can you unpack that distinction for me? Lenses, not spells.
Okay, a lens helps you see what's already there.
Right.
If I put on infrared goggles, I can see heat.
Yeah.
The goggles don't create the heat, they just allow me to perceive it and navigate it.
Yeah.
A spell, in the fantasy sense, is an attempt to break the laws of nature. I want to fly, so I'll cast a spell and defy gravity. The Kybalion specifically warns against this.
This is the trap of the half-wise.
Exactly. That's the character in the story who gets eaten by the dragon in Chapter 3.
I know that guy.
We all do. The text describes the half-wise as someone who grasps the truth that the universe is mental, but then jumps to the wrong conclusion.
Oh, it's all in my mind. Great. The physical world is just a dream, so I can ignore it.
That's the one. They think they can walk off a cliff because gravity is just a mental construct.
They understand the first layer, but they completely ignore the second. They ignore the rules of the simulation we're in.
And the text is brutal about what happens. It says these fools are broken against the rocks. Gravity does not care if you think it's a mental construct. On this plane of existence, rocks are hard.
So what does the true master do? If the universe is mental but rocks are still hard, how do you navigate that paradox?
The text says the wise use law against laws.
Use law against laws to triumph.
Right. They don't deny the physical world. They acknowledge gravity, but they use higher mental laws to navigate it.
Oh, like an airplane.
That's a perfect analogy.
Okay.
We don't break the law of gravity to fly a plane. We use the laws of lift and thrust, which are higher laws in that context, to overcome the pull of gravity. We use law against law. The master embraces physical reality, but uses their mental architecture to navigate it with grace.
That's a very grounded way of looking at it. It stops it from being woo-woo and turns it into engineering.
Mental engineering.
But there's another trap here. Bypassing responsibility. I see this all the time in self-help circles.
Oh, it's extremely common. We call it spiritual bypassing now. It's using high-minded philosophy to avoid doing the dishes.
Or paying your taxes. I am a spiritual being. I transcend the IRS.
Yeah, good luck with that. Let me know how it goes. The Hermetic philosophy is really strict about what it calls the law of use.
Okay, what's that?
It says that knowledge without action is vain and foolish.
Knowledge without action is vain.
It's like hoarding gold in a cellar. If you know all the secrets of the universe, but you're a jerk to your spouse and you can't hold down a job, you're not a master. You're just a trivia hoarder.
The knowledge has to flow into action.
It must. And that brings us to the final trap, obsessing over outcomes.
Ah, yes.
This is the alchemist who is only trying to make gold so he can be rich, not for the art of it. If your entire focus is on the result, I must get the promotion. I must find a partner. You become anxious and brittle,
You're trying to force the external world.
and that never works. The focus has to be on training the response, the process, the internal state. When you master your internal response, the external outcomes often follow, but they're a side effect. They can't be the primary goal.
It's the difference between desperately wanting to win the game and just playing the game beautifully.
Perfectly put. If you play beautifully, you often win. But if you're just staring at the scoreboard, you're not even looking at the ball.
Okay, let's ground this even more. We've got the theory. Now I want to see this in action. We have 3 modern examples: work, relationships, and habits. Let's start with work.
The modern workplace. A chaos engine.
That it is. Distractions, conflicting demands, messages, emails. It's easy to fall into that scattered effort we talked about.
Which is just a symptom of having no framework. You're reacting. You're the pawn.
Mm.
So how does the Hermetic framework apply here?
You start with mentalism.
Yes. You ask, what is the mental blueprint of my work today? Instead of just hacking away at the jungle with a machete, you pull out the map, you apply a system.
This sounds a lot like what James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits.
It connects perfectly. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. The practitioner sees the all in the chaos.
They ask, does this email align with my blueprint? Does this meeting serve the mental architecture I'm building?
And if it doesn't, they discard it or delegate it. They're using the law of use. They're filtering the chaos through a mental framework. And that allows them to shift from just being busy, which is just wild vibration, to being effective, which is directed vibration.
I like that. Directed vibration. Okay, example 2. Relationships, the big one. Dealing with a difficult person.
A heated argument. This is where we bring in the Stoic discipline of assent, which fits perfectly with the Hermetic idea of polarity.
Okay, set the scene.
You're in an argument.
Yeah.
The other person is angry. In Hermetic terms, they're vibrating at a low frequency. They are polarized toward anger.
And the natural autopilot reaction is to match that energy. You yell, so I yell back.
Right. Resonance. They drag you down to their polarity.
Huh?
But the practitioner pauses. That's the readiness, the attention. They see the anger, and they refuse to assent to it. They use the power of a chosen response.
They hold their own internal polarity. They stay calm.
And by doing that, they're not just protecting themselves, they're actually performing alchemy.
Transmutation is a mental art.
Yes, they are transmuting the situation. Because it's very difficult to stay angry at someone who is genuinely calm and listening. You are using a higher law mental stability to overcome a lower law emotional reactivity.
That is a real superpower, the ability to walk into a tense room and lower the temperature just by being there.
That is the definition of a master in this framework. True power is a chosen response.
All right, 3rd example, habits. We all want to build better habits. Exercise, reading.
How does the framework help? Well, it goes back to identity. The Kybalion teaches that the universe is mental. The universe is mental, so your habits aren't just physical actions.
They're manifestations of your mental self-image.
Exactly. If you try to go for a run while mentally identifying as a lazy person who hates running, you're just fighting yourself. You're using willpower against your own blueprint.
You're trying to build a wall where the blueprint says there should be a window.
A perfect way to put it. So the Hermetic approach is to change the blueprint first. You move from I want to run to I am a runner. That's a mental shift. Then you use the law of use by taking small actions that prove that new identity.
So you leave your running shoes by the door. That's a physical act, but it stems from a mental decision.
And you design your environment, your whole mental and physical universe, to support that new identity. Consistency becomes natural because it aligns with your internal structure.
You're not forcing it anymore.
You're just being who you've decided to be. As above, so below. As in the mind, so in the body.
It all comes together. The map, the readiness, the application. It's not about forcing the world to bend to you.
It's about aligning your internal world so the external world flows through you without knocking you over.
Okay, we promised a practical exercise, something people can do right now, safely, to get a taste of this.
Yes, the Hermetic grounding reset.
Walk us through it.
This is a way to snap out of that half-wise dream state and get grounded in reality. You can do this anywhere, anytime you feel scattered.
Okay, step 1.
The first step is physical. Just take one calming breath and adjust your posture. Sit up or stand up straight. This is as below, so above. You fix the body to signal the mind to wake up.
Got it. Breath and posture.
The next step is neutral naming. Look at your current situation, the stress, the problem, and just name it in neutral language. Strip away all the emotional adjectives.
So instead of this total disaster of a meeting,
It becomes a meeting with three people where we disagree on the budget. You're just seeing the bare facts. You're removing the emotional dye from your perception.
using the lens. Step 3.
Choose your response. You actively choose the response you want to practice. Ask yourself, what is the wise response here? Not the easy one, the wise one. You set that mental intention.
You're drawing the blueprint for the next 5 minutes.
Exactly. Fourth step is action. The law of use. Choose one tiny aligned action. Send the calm email. Drink the glass of water. Don't just think it, do it.
Manifest it.
And finally, the fifth step, and this is crucial. Release the need to prove anything today. This is humility. You do the work, and then you detach from the outcome. Let the result take care of itself.
Breath, name, choose, act, release. It takes, what, 30 seconds?
Less, once you get the hang of it. But it can change the entire trajectory of your day. It shifts you from pawn to player.
I love that. I'm going to try that. So we have covered a lot of ground. We've opened this dusty old book and found a pretty high-tech manual inside. Let's recap what we've unpacked.
It boils down to a few key takeaways. First, this is a framework for mental architecture, not magic.
It's structural. Second, readiness requires those ears of understanding, which really just means attention and humility.
You have to be empty to be filled. Third, you have to have the map before you try to use the methods. Context first.
Fourth, the principles are lenses to see reality, not spells to deny it. We don't ignore gravity.
And fifth, we avoid that trap of the half-wise by respecting natural laws while using higher laws. We fly the plane, we don't jump off the cliff.
Sixth, true power is found in that chosen response, not in the external outcome.
And finally, knowledge has to be used. It must be put into action, or it's just vain and foolish. The law of use is non-negotiable.
That is a solid foundation. And looking ahead, the map gets even more interesting.
It really does. We've only looked at the cover of the map today. In our next session, we are going to open it up fully.
We're covering the 7 principles, the map of reality.
That's right. We'll explore vibration, polarity, and rhythm. We'll talk about how to actually change your mental state and how to ride the pendulum of life without getting sick.
I cannot wait for that. This feels like we're building something genuinely useful here.
We are building a mind that can stand on its own.
Before we sign off, I want to leave everyone with one final thought to chew on.
Consider this, based on that law of use we discussed. If the universe is mental, as the text claims, then your every single thought is a brick in the building of your life.
Not just the big thoughts.
No, the little fleeting ones, the small complaints, the passing jealousies, the quick moments of gratitude, they're all bricks. So look at your life today and ask yourself a simple question. What are you building? Because you are building something, whether you intend to or not.
That is a heavy but also really empowering thought to end with. We are all architects. Thank you for walking us through this.
It was my pleasure.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.